All right, let's take a journey to what many people call the absolute jewel of our solar system. It's a world so massive, so incredibly violent, and yet so beautiful it almost seems unreal. Yeah, we're going to Saturn. We tend to think of our world, our little planet, as this huge, sprawling place. But out there in the quiet and the dark, there are things that just completely reset your sense of scale, and maybe nothing does that better than Saturn. And to really get a handle on that scale, let's just start with a number. 1,800 kilometers per hour. Those are the winds on Saturn. Get this, they are literally faster than the speed of sound. This isn't just another planet. It's a place of extremes that are almost impossible to wrap your head around.
So for this first part of our trip, let's just get to know this beautiful, terrifying giant. What exactly is the world hiding behind those iconic rings?
For centuries, Saturn has just completely baffled us. When Galileo first pointed his little telescope at it, the image was so bizarre, so alien. He thought the planet had handles or ears. He simply couldn't make sense of what he was looking at. And honestly, that's a feeling we still get today.
And here's the thing you've got to understand. Saturn is nothing like Earth. It is a true gas giant. That means there's no ground, no solid surface to walk on. If you tried to land a spaceship there, you wouldn't land. You would just fall and keep falling forever into this swirling abyss of gas and absolutely crushing pressure. Okay, so now let's imagine we're actually making that descent. We are plunging headfirst into an atmosphere of pure, violent chaos, where the weather is more extreme than anything we could possibly dream up here on Earth. And just look at the difference here. The absolute record for a hurricane on Earth is 345 kilometers an hour. Now look at Saturn. Its winds don't just dwarf that, they actually break the sound barrier. It's just on another level. But in the middle of all that swirling chaos, there's something that feels impossible. A storm raging at the North Pole that is a perfect geometric hexagon. I mean, nature isn't supposed to make straight lines and perfect angles like this in a storm, and yet, there it is, a total mystery. And we're not talking about some small weather pattern here. This single storm is so enormous, you could fit 4 entire Earths inside of it, side by side. The scale is just staggering to think about. Let's really trace that fall, shall we? First, you'd slam into those supersonic winds. Then, as you sink deeper, the pressure just builds and builds until it's millions of times what we feel on Earth. And that pressure becomes so intense, it literally squeezes carbon atoms right out of the air. And, deep down, in the pitch-black darkness, it rains solid diamonds. Okay, so, leaving the terrifying planet itself behind, we're going to rise up to its most famous feature, its crown, the rings. But what we see from our backyard telescopes, well, that's a breathtaking illusion. We see them as these solid, perfect glowing bands, right? But what are they really? What would it actually be like to fly right through them?
This really breaks it down. The illusion is that they're solid, smooth, and have been there forever. The reality? They're made of billions of individual pieces of ice and rock, everything from tiny little grains to chunks the size of mountains, all locked in this constant, chaotic cosmic dance.
And here is the most mind-bending part. Even though they stretch out for hundreds of thousands of kilometers, they are impossibly thin. I mean, in some places, they're only about 10 meters thick. This quote says it all. If you could shrink Saturn down to the size of a basketball, those rings would be millions of times thinner than a razor blade. Just wow. But here's the catch. They won't last. The rings are a temporary spectacle. They're slowly being pulled in by the planet's gravity, raining down onto its atmosphere. In about 300 million years or so, they'll be completely gone. We are just unbelievably lucky to be alive in the brief cosmic moment when they're shining at their absolute brightest. But Saturn isn't just a planet with some pretty rings. Nope, it's the center of its own miniature solar system, commanding this huge family of moons, and every single one is its own unique world. 146. That's the count. That's how many confirmed moons are in Saturn's empire. It's this sprawling, chaotic system of ice and rock, with a few absolute superstars in the mix. So let's zoom in on the 2 most compelling ones. First, you've got Titan. This place is bigger than the planet Mercury, completely covered in this thick orange smog. It has rivers and lakes, but they're filled with liquid methane. It's like a twisted, toxic mirror of a young Earth. And then there's Enceladus, this tiny, bright white ball of ice that's hiding a secret, a warm, saltwater ocean beneath its frozen shell. And Enceladus? Oh, Enceladus has basically the whole checklist for life as we know it. It has liquid water, and lots of it. It has an energy source, hydrothermal vents, just like the ones on Earth's ocean floors, and its geysers are literally spraying the chemical building blocks of life out into space. It's easily one of the most promising places in the entire solar system to search for alien life.
Now, almost everything we've just talked about, all this incredible knowledge, we know thanks to one heroic explorer, the Cassini spacecraft. And its story has this really profound, really emotional ending.
So after 13 incredible years of discovery, Cassini finally started to run out of fuel. And to protect those pristine moons like Enceladus from any possible contamination, scientists sent it on one last glorious dive. They called it the grand finale, plunging it directly into Saturn's atmosphere to become a part of the very world it had studied for so long.
But before that final plunge, before the end, Cassini gave us one of the most important photographs ever taken. As it slipped behind Saturn, it turned its camera around one last time, and it captured this, a pale blue dot.
That dot, that's us. That's Earth. Everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone who ever was, lived out their entire existence on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. Looking back at our tiny, fragile home from the shadow of a terrifyingly beautiful giant, well, it gives you a perspective that changes everything. It really makes you wonder, what does it mean to be here, on that dot, looking out into the vast, beautiful dark?